Modern governments and central banks share a deeply held, rarely questioned belief. If you can smooth out the bumps, you make society safe. But look closely at what that artificial stability actually creates. When a minor recession hits, or street-level friction emerges, the immediate reflex is to intervene. Print more money, bail out failing companies, pass sweeping regulations. The goal is always to eliminate the volatility. This diagram shows artificial stability versus hidden risk. The top line represents a perfectly managed economy, but underneath, the risk doesn't disappear. It compounds exponentially. Eventually, this pressure bursts. Removing small stressors manufactures a black swan, a crisis so massive the structure cannot survive. Think of it like managing a forest. If you aggressively extinguish every tiny brush fire the moment it starts, dead wood and dry leaves pile up year after year. You haven't prevented a fire. You've just ensured the next one will burn the entire forest to the ground. The quieter and more perfectly controlled a political or economic system looks from the outside, the closer it is to a devastating, unpredictable collapse. To understand why these failing structures are built in the first place, we have to look at the people designing them, the isolated experts making decisions behind closed doors. They operate on a mechanism called fragility transfer. When their policies work, they collect the bonuses, the prestige, and the promotions. But when their luck finally runs out and the system breaks, the catastrophic costs are transferred entirely onto the public. Consider the architects of the 2003 Iraq invasion. Highly credentialed experts championed a massive geopolitical intervention. When that intervention triggered decades of chaos, the people who drafted the plans didn't lose their jobs or face personal ruin. They went right back to writing op-eds. The exact same dynamic drove the 2008 financial crisis. The bankers and regulators who built a hyper-fragile housing market pocketed their upside. When the crash vaporized trillions in public wealth, the architects were bailed out. We've created a protected class of central bankers, academics, and economists, figures like Joseph Stiglitz, who design massive, fragile frameworks for the rest of us to live in, completely insulated from the fallout of their own miscalculations. Any system is doomed to fail when the people steering the ship don't go down with it. For most of human history, society had a very simple survival mechanism to prevent exactly this kind of reckless behavior: skin in the game. Decision-makers were required to take on personal risk. Look at the Code of Hammurabi from nearly 4,000 years ago. If a builder constructed a house and it suddenly collapsed and killed the owner, the builder was put to death. The rule ruthlessly filtered out bad risk-takers before they could build a second time. We don't need capital punishment today, but we do need systems that force immediate accountability. Switzerland manages this through its canton system. Instead of a massive central government dictating terms, policy is argued over in highly localized, noisy town squares. That constant street-level friction is actually a massive strength. Because decisions are local, errors manifest immediately. The community feels the pain, fires the local official, and corrects the mistake before it can infect the entire nation. It's why an extreme, top-down dictator could never successfully run a small municipality. When you govern a town of just a few hundred people, you have to look your neighbors in the eye. The consequences of your bad ideas are immediate and personal. True systemic resilience isn't forged in quiet boardrooms. It is forged through constant, bottom-up friction and absolute personal accountability. So how do you actually look at the modern political landscape and know what is going to survive? You ignore the complex economic forecasts and look entirely at a system's structural exposure to failure. When evaluating any government, bank, or institution, ask one definitive question: do the people making the rules actually pay a price if they get it wrong? Because when an unpredictable shock hits a centralized bureaucratic system that has spent decades suppressing small problems, it doesn't bend, it shatters into irrecoverable pieces. Meanwhile, decentralized, localized systems that deal with minor chaos every single day take that same shock and absorb it. The stress actually forces them to adapt and grow stronger. Surviving the future doesn't require predicting the unpredictable. It just requires recognizing the obvious. Centralized systems run by insulated experts are built to fall. The future belongs to those who embrace a little chaos and pay for their own mistakes.